Hello and Happy New Year from How Do You Say That?
Happy New Year! I'm Mark Rose.
And I'm Samantha Boffin.
And this week, it's the second of our seasonal specials.
Yes, it's Emily Jardine's turn to go unedited.
So we've kept in all the fluffs, the outtakes and the behind-the-scenes bits that it takes to make your weekly episode.
And we begin with Mark giving Emily some reassurance before we started the show.
How do you say that?
We're here to make you look great.
Do you know, I did wonder that. I thought, everybody's so bloody good. I'm going to make a mistake.
That's because I edit it to fuck, I tell you.
Okay.
It's
we leave in our mistakes on our read.
Right.
Some of them. Yeah, on the
Kind
whole.
of you.
Yeah.
But we don't. But you, the guests, always sound fabulous.
Sounds bloody amazing. Well, feel free to leave in some of my mistakes.
Well, it was kind of our mission statement right from the beginning to go, let's make the guests sound as good as they can. Then people will want to come on the show. You know,
do you know what? I know so many people that love your show and would be so thrilled to come on. So,
oh, God, send me a list of names.
Yeah,
because if you've got names and email addresses, send them to me and I will happily send them an invitation. Because this thing is like a conveyor belt.
Yes, I've noticed. There's always something new, which is amazing. And I was going to ask you, actually, because I don't want to encroach on... I was going to tell you something funny about myself, but I couldn't remember if that was part of the show anyway. But
Fun fact is...
Yeah. So I won't say it yet then.
Okay.
But essentially, I didn't want to encroach on it being too Halloween-y, because my fact is something a bit spooky. And obviously, you will have something that's planned on coming out at the end of October. So anyway.
You're right. This is not the Halloween episode. This is the week before the Halloween episode.
But that's good. That's good.
So it's still before. It'll still be before
really cool.
Halloween. So that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
also,
not a problem.
I think this time of year, the whole vibe of this time of year, really right up to
agree.
Christmas is
Spooktober.
Well, yeah, it is. It kind of feels kind of dark and
Yeah. So it totally wasn't my plan, because obviously I was booked in the summer, right?
Yeah.
And so,
True.
But yeah. So anyway.
We normally record for about 50 minutes, something like that, and cut it down to between 29 and 34, which sometimes means I have to be really harsh with some stories.
I bet you do. And I always think it's not long enough. Like, I really do. And I'm like, oh, no. It's not...
I'm glad about that, because I'd rather keep people wanting more than going, oh, this is really too long.
There have been times where we've had actually really longish, well, I think they've been longish scripts. And I thought, oh my God, I bet everybody's dropping off to sleep at home hearing this same
and you have
fucking
subbed
script
them, haven't you?
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, my God.
Oh, really? You've had to shorten them as well?
Yeah.
I've heard some of the long ones.
Just too long. They're just too long. You just, you just get bored halfway through. You just zone out. So the shorter, in some ways, the shorter the better. I come brutal about cutting them down now.
The only other thing I'd say, Emily, is join in, have a laugh. Have a laugh. Join in.
Have a laugh.
You're being recorded on a separate track, so if we all talk over each other, I'll just mute out one of us that doesn't make it. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And that's the nice thing about having it on different tracks, though. So that's all good. I have a question, Sam, about your script before we actually get to it.
No, you have to.
No. I'm going to ask you now. I'm going to ask you now.
I'm not going to.
Please answer. Hedonists or hedonists? Which do you prefer?
I've never heard anyone say hedonists.
Have you not? Interesting. So
no,
you prefer hedonists? Okay.
I don't think hedonists.
So it's the right thing to.
Yeah.
Because I would call it hedonistic as opposed to hedonistic.
See, I would call it hedonistic.
Yeah, how funny. Okay. Well, I'll go with you.
Have we gone? Hold it right there, caller, because I am going to check this out.
Have we gone to how'd you say?
I've checked a pronunciation, and it didn't come up with hedonist, but it did come up with hedonism. So
fair. Oh, you did the sensible thing, Emily. You actually went to check.
I feel really bad now because I didn't check it at all at the time. I just assumed I knew what it was.
It's all right. Do you know, I didn't know how to say nomenclature. I thought it was nomenclature. So when I did that as a script, they went, can you do that again,
America,
please?
It is nomenclature.
Oh. American hedonist.
Hey!
Right. And let me hear our man again, because I wasn't really listening.
Hedonist or hedonist, also American hedonist.
Hedonist.
So it's not wrong. It's just American. Okay.
No, it's just American. Whew. Oh my God, I love him so much. I want to meet him. Get him on the fucking podcast.
Yeah, you should.
It's 15:15. Should we crack on? Should we crack on? Sam, so if we could all clap so I can see it on the timeline, that would be delightful. Hurrah, hurrah. Excellent. Lovely. Whoop, whoop. And Sam is in charge of introducing today's show.
I am, aren't I? Yes. Now, why did I get a frog in my throat the minute that started? Okay, right.
How do you say that?
Hello and welcome to today's episode of How Do You Say That? Sponsored by BritishVoiceover.co.uk. It is the show dedicated to anyone who has ever had to read a script out loud in front of a microphone. And here is my co-host, Mark Rice.
Hello.
And his fun fact today is that he really doesn't, this makes you sound so poncy, he doesn't enjoy air travel because it's so uncomfortable in economy.
But it is, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, darling.
I recently came back
jest.
from Gran Canaria, and 4.5 hours is about as much as I can do now.
Really?
I remember a time in my 30s when I went to New Zealand for 3 days and literally was travelling for 27 hours there. It was a birthday party. It's a long, long story. But
What?
But
Jesus.
Just to be cramped up like that is not nice. And I have travelled business a couple of times when I haven't been paying for it. It's much, much nicer.
You get the little earphones as well, don't you?
You do. You do.
I travelled long haul first class once.
Oh, very
Only
nice.
once. I was going out with somebody who was extremely rich.
Ooh, lovely. I went premium economy once on Virgin. I went premium economy once on Virgin because I lived with a guy as my flatmate who worked for Virgin.
Ooh.
So that was nice.
Well,
Nice.
I went economy on EasyJet once.
And we all know that experience. Oh, my word.
Fantastic.
Well, my co-host is Sam Boffin, and here's something you may not know about her. When she was doing drama A-level, just a few years ago, she played 3 roles in a row where she was painted green, like the Hulk.
Literally, well, not quite the Hulk. Yes, one of them was the Hulk. No, one of them was not the Hulk. Yes, 3 roles in a row. I can remember feeling. I don't know why I always landed the green role, but I did.
Did you at least get to play Alphaba from Wicked?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, wouldn't that have been cool? No, it was a witch actually. The middle one was a witch. The first one was a green fly. Don't even ask. It was a musical. I can't even. I know exactly what it was called, but I'm not going to share it. Anyway, I was a green fly, a singing green fly, and then I was a witch, and then I was Toad in Mr. Toad.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, of course, you've just heard her. We also have a special guest with us, and this week it's the fabulous voice actor. And this week it's the fabulous voice actor and voiceover coach, Emily Jardine. Yay! Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We have been trying to get you on the show for ages.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. Yeah.
Well, Emily is an award-winning voice artist, actor and voiceover coach. She's represented by an eye-watering 43 agents across 12 countries.
Wow.
And I know, while Emily's performance career began when she was very little, by the age of 26, Emily was also an established voiceover producer, casting director and talent manager, producing multi-million-pound advertising campaigns around the world.
Lots of people know Emily because she is a casting director, of course. Emily won the Inspiration Award at One Voice in 2022, and the following year was nominated alongside you, Sam, as Female Voiceover of the Year at One Voice 2023.
Neither of us won.
No, we didn't.
We don't. We can get over that bit. When Emily isn't in the booth, she loves baking, reading, and adopting small furries. She's also a complete Queen and Freddie Mercury nerd.
I love Queen.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
did you see them in concert?
Do you know? No, I didn't because I was way
Too young.
too young. Hang on a second. Do you mind? Hang on a sec. Sorry, I've just realised something about my recording. Sorry. Hang on. I just want to check that it's doing what I've asked it to do. It is. Okay. There we go. Sorry. You may continue.
Correct. So you didn't ever see them live because just too young.
Freddie had gone.
No, at the point where you fell in love with Freddie, he was gone.
Yeah, so I got introduced to Freddie when I was I think 10, and my dad played me Bohemian Rhapsody, and he showed me the video, and after I'd got obsessed, he went, "You know he's dead, right?"
Oh no!
Never forgiven him.
Wow. Talking of awards, Sam, I just want to yell that we have been shortlisted in the Independent Podcast Awards in the Arts and Culture category. I know Arts and Culture, can you even believe it? Yeah. But I'm very proud of that. That's good, because there were hundreds and hundreds of entries.
There were, and we booked our tickets today.
We have. We're going to go and see it. It's the 30th of October, which is great. So if you don't hear any more about it on this podcast, it means we didn't win.
No, exactly.
So Emily, have you got a fun fact for us?
I have, and I think it might be a good one, given that what next week is.
Halloween, yes.
I used to be a very heavy goth.
Did you? Did you? Oh, my word. And anyone that's ever met you will be going, what? What?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
So I used to wear inch-long spikes around my neck.
Wow.
I had metal bone corsets, knee-high PVC boots.
Wow.
And people used to call me Goth Ariel, like, the mermaid.
Yes. Did you dye your hair? Were you dark-haired?
I was jet black hair, jet black.
How cool is that?
So do you ever revisit it at Halloween at all?
No, unfortunately, but my friends have never let me forget it. As far as they're concerned, as a child, I was a vampire, so that suits me down to the ground.
I absolutely love that, and in a way, our Halloween episode next week will be just up your street, I think. But anyway, back to today, and let's have a look at our first script of the show and ask, how do you say that? Yes. Cool. Put a little sting in there. Do you have your script file up, Emily? Can you see it in front of you? Excellent.
I do. I've got. That's such a cool script, Sam. Is that yours?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I wish it was one of mine.
My casting is Dark Docs. That's a Harold Shipman doc.
God, really?
I love
it. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
Although it could have been a Jimmy Savile, couldn't it?
It could have been.
Instead of a killer comes from any form. It could have been.
I'm not giving
absolutely.
away who it is,
no,
I won't mention that in the podcast.
Okay.
But it is in fact. But it was. I was laughing because it was last week or something that I got it. It was in the same week I had a Madeleine McCann one as well.
Oh my God!
Yes, we're going in for the crime docs.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Let's face it. There are channels dedicated to it, so there's work there.
Yeah.
There's work. There's work for a dark voice, indeed.
All right, so Sam comes off the back of the sting now.
So this is a little script from a rather dark documentary that I did very recently.
Nice.
Because we're getting to that dark and scary time of year.
Indeed we are.
And yes, this
straight documentary,
is
a television documentary?
TV documentary.
Web documentary,
Yeah. And
cool.
I didn't have the visuals.
Right,
for
okay.
it. So it was done blind, as it were. But but it was, yes, this is it.
You call it a dark documentary. Is it a dark feel to the voiceover as well?
Well, necessarily there were points in it where there were dark. Actually, necessarily there were points in it that were darker than others. But what's interesting about doing a documentary like this is that you do have to, you can't be forever dark and sombre.
No,
there has to be areas of light. So actually, if I looked back at my script, I've probably got an adjective or a word against every little section.
Interesting.
To give me a prompt as to whether this is, lighter, a warning, uber dark.
There's not very
much
much light in the bit that you've given us, to be fair.
No, it's quite
not
dark.
an awful lot.
No. And that is also the opener. And so that, and for a documentary, the opener and the closer are almost two separate bits. They're almost separate from the rest of the documentary because you're kind of setting it up. It's almost like a mini promo.
Yeah, interesting.
But
I'm looking forward to this as a prelude to our Halloween episode.
I know, it's almost like this was planned, and it totally wasn't.
I know.
Emily, I'll go first, then you, then Sam, if that's okay.
Yep.
All right, here we go then. I will just clear my throat though first because that was all very phlegmy. You didn't need to know that, but right. A killer can come in many forms, from the visionaries to the mission-oriented, hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals, a trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them. You might even trust them until it is far too late.
Very nice.
I liked that.
Very chilling.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up.
Oh, great. Well, you've got to feel it, right?
Yeah.
You've got to connect
yeah.
with that script.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, isn't it? When if you give a read that doesn't connect, your audience can hear that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I guess so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because with docs, sometimes you're there to support it, really. Your
Yes.
voice is supporting and it's not the star player at
Yeah.
all. And this is very much the case with a doc like this. The star player is not you. But at the same time, you've got to give it a bit of welly. I don't know. So we'll see actually when we come to it. But it worries me sometimes if people are too lightweight when you've got something serious to say.
I don't think there was anything lightweight about what I just did, to be
No, definitely not. You've got a lovely, lower part of your voice. Oh,
Which I don't get to use that often, actually.
You don't get to do
lean in.
like a sexy, chocolate commercials are out now, aren't they?
No, I know, but Sam's sewn all that up anyway. All the chocolate
Not for the
stuff.
men, I have to say.
Stefan Kornikar's sewn it all up for the men,
Yeah,
let's
he
face
really
it. It's
has.
like-
Yeah.
He really has.
That is true.
We love you, Stefan.
We do love you.
Indeed.
Can we have some work?
Love it. Right, let's see what Emily can do with it, because because you have a fairly light tone to
I
your
do.
voice.
I'm-
Emily,
But
don't you?
she can do lots of different things.
Oh, I know,
She's got a
absolutely.
very versatile voice.
No pressure. Okay. A killer can come in many forms, from the visionaries to the mission-oriented, hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals, a trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them. Until it is far too late.
Oh, more goose
Nice.
pimples. Your pausing was tremendous for effect in lots of different sentences. Just from that very first sentence, a killer can come in many forms, and it's like, oh, I see where you're going.
I like a full stop that
Yes.
isn't meant to be there.
Yeah, and you use it beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really, what's the word? It had real atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a very
much so.
atmospheric read.
And interestingly, for a documentary, they would probably use those unintentional full stop points to change the picture.
Yes. Yeah, the footage would... Because we're not following the footage, essentially. Well,
Especially if we're not seeing the footage at this point, which Sam wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, lovely. And horrific at the same time.
See, I can't do that. I say this to people all the time. My voice is so light that I can't get away with intimidation. Put me
But
on a
you
tax
brought it-
commercial.
But you brought it in a different way.
Yeah.
And when you got to that final line, until it is far too late, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, ouch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved the ending in particular. That I thought was fab. Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
Really good.
Should we see how Sam did it? It's probably a completely different way now. It's like,
Well,
is there any
was,
other
but
direction that you were given?
No. Of course, I had the benefit of seeing the whole script, so I was able to. But no, and no, it's interesting actually that people, as I said, we say it every week. People bring such different sensibilities to each one, and what I'm going to do is not necessarily the right way. There is no right way. There is just a way. And if the client buys it, then that's the way it's then done.
Yes, and it might well be that the client turns around and goes, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. Can we try it this way?
Yep.
And then they end up with 3 or 4 different ways of having it.
Absolutely. absolutely. But I think we tie ourselves in knots, trying to second guess what they might want, and we might surprise them, but they might like it. But I don't know. It's weird, isn't it?
But Emily, as a casting, sorry, I'll start again. But Emily, as a casting director, you have to second guess what the client wants even before the client's got there.
Yeah, and sometimes actually they will say, "Hey, Emily, we don't know what we want. Can you just choose for us?"
That's helpful.
It can be really stressful. But what I do know is that clients tend to follow a regular theme, or certainly use similar words. I've worked with, for example. Sorry, I'm gonna think about this and start that again.
No worries.
Who do I choose? So I used to work with a big toy manufacturer, and their commercials were always the same. They were looking for yay! So I knew that if I found a yay voice artist, the chances are they would like it.
Interesting. Interesting.
But how do you then? Because when I'm casting and working with other clients, sometimes I think, really? Can't we try something a bit different now? And sometimes they're resistant to it, and other times you have to take them along on a different journey convince them that maybe it's time to look at it in a different way, maybe.
Let's switch it up.
Yeah. I'm always quite buoyed up by people that, do make changes every so often, because the world changes.
It does.
Different, you have different audiences to bring in.
You do.
If you just remain the same, it just remains stagnant.
And of course, we've now moved to the super authentic and conversational, right?
Yep.
So everything is human and real. And I think you guys will agree with me on this, that if you can't keep up, you won't be working as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and offering up alternatives.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that being able to, you might well have, a lot of people do have a signature way of doing things, but if you can't mix it up, then you're going to be very limited with what you can do. But anyway,
Let's get back to the documentary.
Yeah,
Let's find out how Sam
I did
it for her client.
A killer can come in many forms, from the visionaries to the mission-oriented, hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals, a trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them, until it is far too late.
Oh, Sam, I loved that.
I did. The might even trust them literally almost had me shaking. It's like, wow. Okay, that is not the read I expected you to do, I have to say.
Was it not?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
I thought you were going to be more chocolatey, and that was why they had booked you, to give you the very sweetness of the low female voiceover with your classic style, with very dark pictures and very dark subject matter. But that's not what you did, and I love that.
It's almost, and I say this to people, to think about what sits in that lower register. And we've got everything from that kind of creepy all the way to sexy and luxury. Yeah. So I think sometimes that little bit of flirt kind of works. And I heard you do it at one point.
Absolutely, I did at one point as well. Yeah.
So I think it was from a single glance or something like that, and I just went, ooh.
Well, that's the line in it, actually, that is the connecting line, because that's the one where you're talking about this killer sort of almost as an abstract idea. They're visionary, mission-oriented. We're not talking about anyone in particular here. We're not talking about hedonists, and this is a trait that's often shared, blah, 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 blah. But the bit that chills people is that if you met them, would you know them?
Yep.
Would you even like them, maybe. So that's the bit that really connects this
I really want to know if the
killer
director of this
with the real person.
documentary gave you a shot of two eyes looking at that point. Because
Well,
I
yes,
would.
I've
If
no
I were
idea.
producing it,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, it is interesting. You've got to kind of pull the scripts apart, haven't you?
Yeah.
You do.
To actually make them work.
Yeah, because we can, a template read it's boring
Yeah.
for the audience. And,
Yeah.
Documentaries are meant to take you on a journey.
And as we pointed out at the... Am I making the right point there? And as we point out quite often, actually, these are just first reads, Emily. This is not necessarily what a client would get after 4 or 5 takes. This is our first kind of go at it. Fascinating. It'll be interesting to see what people at home do with this.
Yeah, it will.
Well, it's worthwhile remembering that these are real scripts that we've been working on, but we've changed names and some details to avoid those pesky copyright issues.
We have.
So, Emily, can you tell us more about the script that you've brought in? It's very different. We're going from something very dark to something not very dark.
So this was a job I did about 3 years ago for a pet food company, and they
Right.
created a load of animations of different animals talking about their problems. And the idea was that this food could be tailored to your animal, whatever their problem may be. And unfortunately, Charlie the corgi had diarrhea.
Oh.
So
Not good. Not good.
That's the backstory.
No, that is the
That's a great backstory.
As it were. Yes.
So, I mean,
Okay.
in effect, I guess Charlie the corgi puppy could have any kind of voice.
he could have any kind of voice, and who's to say that he's a little boy? So
Indeed,
yeah.
absolutely.
I did think that
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
with Charlie, you could definitely make Charlie female. And I did look at this and think, well, I thought at first maybe you could cast against type, maybe you could give, and then I thought, well, actually, you talk about puppies and, and then I threw that out of the window. I thought maybe.
Were you thinking cast against type as in, I'm Charlie, a corgi?
Yeah,
It's like-
you could.
That's not what a corgi sounds like.
If you had an animation, you might want to do that.
Possibly
it's a bit
so.
like, you know what I mean? It could be quite funny. But then I thought, no, this is meant to be, it's meant to be a believable corgi puppy.
True.
It's not,
I mean, there's the whole
American
wildcard section. We can make Charlie whoever we want there if you want.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Sam's going to go first on this one. I wonder what you're going to find with Charlie the corgi.
Yeah, me too.
Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, a corgi puppy who's quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing. I only like to eat the best of the best, and I'm worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. Call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all the boxes. Tasty, keeps my coat lovely and shiny, my parcels firm, and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist? Or are my expectations simply too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
I could definitely see Charlie there.
Little shy Charlie.
Shy
Little
Charlie,
tail was
yes.
wagging.
Can you help me?
I got shy as well from that, Emily. I thought that was quite nice because puppies probably would be a little bit shy, wouldn't
They might well be, yeah. And I liked the higher part that you use because, of course, we are talking about a puppy that,
Baby, yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh, fascinating. It had a really nice pace to it as well because this is not something that is slow. It's not, I mean, if this is a commercial, did it have to fit in a certain amount of time?
It was kind of like yes, it was a commercial. I think, is it infomercial that's a little bit longer, goes on a bit? Yeah, so I think it was approximately 90 seconds once you'd added in all the animations and stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
So it was,
So you didn't have to worry too much about time.
No, it was very, they were quite carefree about it and they just said, do whatever, takes
As
you
a
in the moment.
As a regular listener, you'll know that Sam loves scripts like that and hates 30-second
I
scripts.
do, and I was trying so hard to get that into a 30 that
I think
I'm
you
now
might have done. I think you
unbelievably disappointed.
I think you might have
I
actually
couldn't.
got it within that time.
You might well have done. Well, congrats.
Yes, absolutely. Round of
Thank you.
applause.
The one time I didn't need to do it. There it is.
Which just goes to prove you can do it even when you're not trying. Oh, gosh.
So
All
now
right.
it's you. I really
Now
want
I'll
to hear
have a
your
go.
Charlie now, mate.
Yes, okay. Do we think Henry is the pet food company?
So I know the answer, so maybe that's one for Sam.
Well, now what did I think? Yes, I did. I imagined
Henry
that I
obviously
was
isn't the
writing
parent.
to Henry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I actually did write in the air while I was doing that.
I was wondering. All right, then. Let's give it a go.
With my paw.
Charlie the corgi puppy. Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, a corgi puppy who's quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing. I only like to eat the best of the best, and I'm worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. Call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all the boxes. Tasty, keeps my coat lovely and shiny, my parcels firm, and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations simply too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
Oh, that was so
Charlie,
cute.
I want to give him a cuddle.
Yeah.
I think Charlie probably needs a cuddle.
He does, but he might poo on me, so I probably won't give him a cuddle.
But I also loved the fact you took a bit of time, which I didn't because I thought I was 30. No, I
That
love
is
the
why
fact
I asked the question, to be
you
fair.
took a
I
bit of
wondered if
time to do the sort of snuffly bits, which were really cute, actually. Really cute.
That was very sweet, actually.
Love it.
I think with that kind of thing, it's really obvious where the I was going to say humanization, but not humanization. The personification of the animal is probably important.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Now we get to Emily do
Yes,
it.
now we get to hear how it's properly done.
No, it's how it was done at the time. That was
Okay.
great, guys.
Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, a corgi puppy who is quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing. I only like to eat the best of the best, and I'm worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. Call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all the boxes. Tasty, keeps my coat lovely and shiny, my parcels firm, and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
Charlie's needy. Charlie was quite needy there, I thought. It's like Charlie was a bit of a know-it-all almost.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I thought that, she's a corgi, so she might,
Royalty,
maybe it's the queen.
yes,
What I
possibly
also
so.
haven't asked is what are parcels?
Poos.
Oh,
Keep my
see, this
poo
is a
firm.
non-dog. Now, this proves
Oh, that is so
you
funny.
two having dogs. I guess you having dogs, yeah. And I absolutely do not have a dog.
That's funny.
So that's what a parcel is.
That's what a
Don't
parcel
worry.
is. That may have been a question to ask beforehand, Sam.
Yeah.
Yes,
Possibly.
I thought of something completely different. I'm not even going to go into what I thought
okay.
it was. But anyway, yes.
I love that the higher register in your voice that you were talking about really, really suits that, and it took it to a younger puppy, I think, but a younger,
Yeah,
definite know-it-all puppy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the picture they sent me, she actually had some kind of a bow on her head.
Yes, I can imagine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And if it had been a personification of an animal, I would expect quite large, round glasses. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what I pictured there. I love it. I love
A very
it.
high tail, yes.
And a very high tail. Yes.
Yes, perky.
Oh. Well, okay. Here's the part of the show that can be completely off the wall, like you've just stepped out of an improv class. The wild card section. Let's see if we can complete these scripts in a different way, shall we?
So, Emily, you have the extraordinary...
Oh,
We've lost Sam.
we've lost Sam. How weird. That's never happened before. Sam, if you can still hear us, we lost your connection there. Oh, it says she's connected, but we are not hearing her.
I wonder if she can...
Oh, I don't know if you can hear us, Sam, but we can't hear you at the moment. You might want to disconnect and reconnect. Otherwise, I will force you to disconnect. Good luck with...
Bloody hell.
You're
That
back.
was weird.
That was
Fuck.
weird.
The whole house went dark.
Bloody hell!
How funny.
Literally, it just went whack. So, that was the weirdest thing I've ever... But my husband flicked a switch and they were back in the room.
Pre-Halloween.
That was so weird. That was so weird. I was literally speaking and then it was like the whole house went...
Oh, my word. I'm assuming that stopped your recording. Did you lose your recording?
No.
Do you think?
Oh, phew. Good.
Let's
Soups.
go back to the point
think I was
where
just
you say,
asking-
Emily,
yeah.
can you pick one of the scripts too?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fingers
So
crossed
that
for
was
your
the
darkness. That
weirdest
was
thing.
weird.
It was literally...
I thought I was going to be voicing by candlelight.
Very difficult actually to voice by candlelight because nothing would
Especially
work.
that script one. No, thank you.
Exactly.
No,
So,
no.
okay. Blah, 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 blah. Right. So, Emily, can you pick one of the scripts and give Mark a brand new motivation?
Okay, I want to go with script 1. Right. And again, I totally hadn't planned this as Halloween, but I was wondering if you could do it as Igor, the hunchbacked assistant.
Okay.
Totally in his wheelhouse.
Complete with the heavy breathing and
Okay.
the lisp.
And indeed. And that, yeah, okay. That's quite a fun one. I quite like that. Igor. Yes, he's like, Master. It's like,
I come, Master, to help you with a killer. He can come in many forms, from the Visionaries to the mission-oriented Hedonists, to the desire for power and control. Traits are often shared between these abhorrent individuals. A trait which strikes fear into our heart. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity from a single glance. You may think nothing of them. You might even trust them until it is far too late.
It was the wetness that really got me. So wonderful, Mark. You threw yourself into that.
That was absolutely brilliant. I was hoping you'd put some little gleeful points in there because, of course, he is Igor and he loves his master and his their freaky ways. But I did hear that towards the end a little bit.
I wondered if he enjoyed abhorrent individuals slightly
I think
too
he
much.
did. Yeah.
Because he understands he is one.
I quite like him though. I think he's cute. I know he's a hunchback freak.
To be fair,
but
yes, the Igor
horrible.
character can be in a number of different ways. can't
It's true.
Right.
Were you moving a lot?
Oh, I was, and I had my hand right up by my shoulder in a kind of hook form to give you the hunchback there as well.
Obviously. Well, I'm going to give Emily something completely different.
Nice.
So, Emily, I want you to be a shoe shop assistant.
A shoe shop
A
assistant.
shoe shop assistant, and I want you to be showing a variety of shoes to a customer. And by the end, you know you've given them the best pair of shoes ever. Okay. And I
Which
think,
scripts?
well, could do it with either, but I think I think if I was being kind, I'd give you number 1, so I'm going to give you number 1.
Okay. Shoe shop sales.
Shoe shop assistants who eventually gets the right shoes.
Sale. A killer can come in many forms, from the Visionaries to the mission-oriented. Hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals. A trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their ability to blend amongst reality. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them. Should we go to the till? Until it is far too late.
The joy of actually having closed that sale was
Close the
obvious.
deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love
that. Because about halfway through, strikes fear into our hearts. It was like, I haven't got this sale yet. Haven't quite convinced them yet.
I like
lovely.
the perkiness of your...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was perky, and you went hugely perky right in that very first line. Hello, exactly.
Well, I was, I used to work in, blimey, when I was a teen, I used to work in retail, and I worked in Ernest Jones, and so I thought the best way to go about it was to be like, hi. It's almost a hint of desperation.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it worked. So.
It did work.
Thanks, Ernest Jones.
It worked really well. I'm going to suggest one for Sam now, but I'm going to go for the other script. I'm going to go for Charlie the Corgi Puppy. And from the idea that we had earlier on, that Charlie the Corgi Puppy is not a cute, tiny little puppy, but Charlie the Corgi Puppy is a gruff, quite angry, darker, deeper voice than you would expect from a puppy who is a bit out of control.
I believe in you, Sam.
Thank you. Yes.
Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, now a corgi puppy who's quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing, and I only like to eat the best of the best, mate, and I am worried, very, very worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. I mean, call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all them boxes. Tasty. Keeping my coat lovely and shiny. My parcels firm, and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations simply too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
That was a big dog, and that was a big personality dog as well. I love that.
Bloody
it completely changes the meaning of the whole thing.
It's almost like poor Henry would be running a mile away from.
I'm a bit worried about Charlie's parents, to be fair.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great job, Sam.
I mean, that was brilliant. And when I said darker and bigger and deeper, absolutely, the visualization of the corgi was like a Hulk corgi.
Yeah, it was a Hulk corgi, like a corgi on steroids.
Yes.
It was a big corgi. big bad corgi.
Totally.
So, on that note, just to remind you, the scripts are in the show notes. So why not have a go for fun in the comfort of your own booth?
Yes, I wonder what Charlie you could create. Well, please
I want to hear these.
Yeah, absolutely. Please keep sending in or sharing your ideas for wildcards. We would love to hear from you. Either DM us on Instagram at HDYST podcast is the address, or email us at podcast@britishvoiceover.co.uk.
Indeed, yes. And now it's question time. So our question this week, probably for Emily actually, but anyway, mainly, is all about auditions. So how many takes is the optimum number when you're sending in an audition from a client perspective, I suppose?
It's a good question, and I've heard Emily do this in a webinar. So this is your kind of expertise area, isn't it, Emily, as well?
Yeah, and so the general consensus was 3, but I'm going to say 2. And the reason being, we've heard all we need to hear by the second take. And actually, if that second take isn't drastically different from the first, I've got all I need from the first take. So I would say choose one take that you are absolutely certain of, but if you really think you want to show a little bit more, or you think there's something else that the client might want to hear, do a second. But by the third, we are going to be bored.
Well,
so
exactly.
We're just going to get a bit frustrated with you.
And also, the other bit of this really is, because a lot of people are, so sometimes obviously if you're sent sides, then you do all the sides that you are asked to do for your character. But often you might be sent the whole script.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know what my answer would be, but what would you say? How much of a script? You've got a 2.5 minute there.
I mean, I never ever give the whole script because clients, much as most of them are very honest, there is always going to be that 1% that are not, and you will find yourself online. So always, I would say 30 seconds to a minute if it's a 2.5 minute. If it's a commercial, do the first couple of sentences and leave the rest. Essentially, you don't want to give them content that they can manipulate, so leave out a key line. Or change the jury's out on whether you should change.
You
the
see,
brand.
I don't change, but I do leave a line out.
Yeah.
So I will record the line, but I won't put it in the edit. Mm-hmm. So then I can choose which line I take out.
Yeah, exactly. And some people watermark, but I personally think that actually that takes away from the read.
Agreed.
I also sometimes I'll read. You can quite quickly see on a script which the important bits are of it.
Yeah, you can.
And you can sort of tell that the client probably wants to hear you say their name.
Yes.
Because they want to hear how you say it.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the end of a script is a good place, is a good bit to keep in. Mm-hmm. So if you only do the first 20 or 30 seconds, you might be missing a trick if you don't kind of scan forward and do parts. I've done parts of a script before.
Yeah.
But you also know if they got 60 auditions, they don't want to listen to 60 full minutes worth. And then if people are doing 2 or 3 takes, they don't want to listen to 180 minutes of that.
Exactly. And I did one of my castings recently. We had 130 applicants.
Wow.
And some of them did 3 to 5 takes, and given that we'd given them quite a meaty script because it was quite a challenging job, and so I wanted to hear that they could do, because it was split into segments, I wanted to hear that they could do each of the different styles we needed. And so to sit there through literally sometimes 10 to 12 minutes of an audition, we'd forgotten what it was like by the third, fifth, whatever take it was.
Does that mean it was much better to be in the first 10 people you listened to or the last 10 people you listened to?
So this depends on who you talk to, and some of the casting directors I know will use that tactic. I personally will listen to everyone because
you might miss out on a golden.
True, absolutely. Yeah,
exactly. And so I will always listen to them all. However, I will be very brutal with my decisions, and I create a yes, no, and a maybe folder. If I don't like it, straight in the no. If it's an immediate yes, it's in the yes. If I'm not sure, it'll go in the maybe. And then when I'm done with everyone, I'll go through the maybe and I will go no, yes.
Yeah.
Do you find that it is only 20% of your maybes that go to the yes pile?
Yeah, generally speaking, because otherwise I don't really want to present any more than
Sorry, Karen.
I don't really want to present more than 5 to 10 applicants to my client, because then it makes me look like I'm not doing my job.
And one final thing about auditions, please, Emily, from your perspective, to slate or not to slate? That is the question.
To slate.
I never slate, unless I'm asked. I was actually asked to slate something the other day.
So why did it become so popular?
I don't know. It's so bad. The advice is so... Oh, I distorted. The advice is so bad because, put it into the context of a casting director, we know that we've got to listen to loads and loads of people. We know we've got to collate all of that and send it off to a client. That's going to take me a day. What I don't have time to do is to go into whatever door I'm using at the time and snip off your slate, because I don't want my client to necessarily
know who I am.
Know who you are.
Yeah.
And so not because it's a secret, but because we want them to keep coming back to us, because we're going to handle everything from start to finish, and also it's just
waste time, doesn't it?
It's a waste of time.
They don't need to know those bits. No. They're just wanting to hear that voice.
Yeah.
They want to hear a collection of voices that might work. There's also the collection of voices that might work together. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Of course, you can put forward, if you've got 3 people. If you've got a multicast of something, then one voice might work brilliantly with one set of people, and not so brilliantly with another. And sometimes it can be,
Yeah, exactly.
It is superb advice. Superb advice. Emily, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It has been brilliant. Your characterisation is just wonderful as well. Just a reminder that all of Emily's details can be found in the show notes.
Definitely. And we'll also be putting up both of today's scripts in the show notes so that you can have a read yourself. And if you want to send them to us, we would love to hear them. We really would love to hear them. And it's podcast@britishvoiceover.co.uk.
And if you enjoy listening, we'd love you to write a review on Apple Podcasts, please, if you've got 5 minutes to do such a thing.
Yes, we would. Yes. And that is it for this week. Thank you again to the lovely Emily Jardine. And we will be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest when we'll be asking, how do you say that?
Sorry.
No, that's fine. When the guest is the last voice to be heard, that always works really nicely. I think that was a really lovely episode.
Oh, it was fun.
Even with the power cut in the middle. That shocked us all. I'm glad we managed to finish because I was thinking, maybe Sam will have to call us and do it on the phone.
Well, that could have worked, I suppose.
Could have worked. We would have had to explain then what was going on. So I'm glad your husband flicked a switch. While we've still got Emily in full show mode, Emily, could you say for me 2 or 3 times in different ways, how do you say that? That would be lovely for the promo.
How do you say that? How do you say that? How do you say that?
Thank you for bringing Igor. I quite enjoyed that.
Oh my God, that was so you, wasn't it?
Quite enjoyed that.
I was hoping that that would, be an all right thing. Like I say, I really didn't plan for that to happen, but I can't remember where I saw it. My other half is a proper nerd, and we're at the moment, obviously, we're watching lots of kind of films that are Spooktober, I think it just popped into my head. That was it. Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Oh,
is it good?
Yeah. It's something. It's just daft. It's really silly. But there was a character in there, Renfield, who is, and so I think that's where it came from.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you so much.
Let me make sure that I have saved everything.
And
just
apologies.
before I let you go.
Oh yeah.
Apologies for.
I was going to say apologies if you heard a lunatic driving during that.
I didn't actually. Good. Not that was an obvious lunatic driving. There was. I heard a little bit of background noise at one point from somewhere, but I couldn't tell where it was. Could have been outside my booth. It was like.
It was possibly the lunatic. So apologies.
No problem.
I'm a bit hot on my dog.
Oh, don't worry about that. I can clean that up. That's all good.
Hot on my dog.
Hot on my dog. Exactly. There's too much to say. It's all filth, isn't it?
How do you say that?